Welcome back to the Locker Room. I'm your host, Jake Homan. Here today with me sitting, I have two guests. We have Ethan Styll and we have Cade Crenshaw. Thanks a lot for coming to the show today, guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so a lot has been happening in sports this past week. This past, I think Sunday, it was the only Equinox we'll get all year, where we had every sport, NHL, MLB, NBA, and the NFL playing on Sunday. But I do want to go ahead and give congratulations to the Washington Nationals on capturing their first World Series title. It's huge for the town, I think, in DC. But what I want to get started off with today is the NBA season has kicked off about a week or so ago. About 4 or 5 games in the regular season right now. There's only one remaining team that's still undefeated, which is the Sixers. They're 4-0. But yeah, I want to go ahead and talk about that. What do you guys think about this year's season? Like, is there anybody we should be looking out for, like, right now? I'll start with you, Ethan.
Well, kind of not necessarily answering your question, but looking at just how the playoff fields can be shifted. The Warriors just released today that Curry's going to be out for a handful of months.
Yep.
Already down Thompson, so who knows how they'll sit towards later regular season in terms of where they will be in the playoffs, because in the past, a couple seasons, they've been getting it done in the regular season, if not the 1 seed, then the 2.
Yeah.
So that can shake up things in the West. The West is still looking like the better conference, as has been for the past several years. But I think the East has a lot of sleeper teams. The Magic have put together a good squad down there. And we were just talking about it. I think the Hawks with Trae Young, granted, he also is out with injury right now, so who knows who can replace that load that he's been putting out, but he's had a stellar beginning to the season in terms of his numbers, and if he can keep that up when he comes back and if he can stay healthy, I think they've got a dangerous thing going down in Atlanta as well.
Okay, and what do you think about that?
Yeah, you look at the East, and the big question is going to be who can maybe challenge the Milwaukee Bucks. They're the preseason pick. Antetokounmpo's, once again, preseason MVP to go back-to-back. So who can be that one sleeper team to even challenge them? Philly's 4-0. Could it be the 76ers making a run at the Bucks? But also, a sleeper team, I look at the Western Conference, and I go Dallas Mavericks. And we're talking about a Mavs team that had their worst record since 1997, 1998, 2 years ago. Last year, they go 14th in the Western Conference. This year, we're talking about a different Mavs team entirely, right? We're talking about Luka Doncic, your reigning rookie MVP, 21 points, 8 boards, 6 assists a game. That's incredible numbers for a young guy. And then you bring in a big man like Kristaps Porzingis, who a lot of people seem to have forgotten about. He struggled there in New York a little bit, but it was because he was hurt that we learned. Now he's recovering back from injury, and that's a dangerous 1-2 punch in the West. I mean, our focus is, of course, Kawhi and Paul George and with the Clippers, and LeBron and Anthony Davis with the Lakers, but let's talk about Porzingis and Doncic down in Dallas. That could be an interesting combination, maybe to be that third team in the mix with the Warriors in the West.
Yeah, and you mentioned Philly, just kind of going back to them, adding Al Horford to an already dangerous starting 5 that, pieces have moved around obviously, but they're, I think, definitely looking to be the team that can challenge
I think the one
Bucks.
player that was stopping Embiid in the Eastern Conference was Horford, and now he's on their team. So I guess you could argue Giannis too, but yeah, I think right now Philly is definitely the best team to come out of the East. Although in LA there is a rivalry brewing now. We have 2 stellar, LA teams, and the Clippers and the Lakers both have at least a couple stars. We got Kawhi and PG and the Clippers, LeBron and AD and Lakers. Who do you guys think was the better team in LA right now?
It's hard to say. I think if you're looking for consistency, you have to say the Clippers, but ceiling-wise, I think right now the Lakers have that advantage with AD. He's already popped off for 40 once this season. It's been, 4 games for them?
Yeah. And
LeBron is very much a known entity, especially playoff LeBron. That's a whole nother beast. As someone who follows the Celtics, I know all about that. So it'll be an interesting, especially if they get to meet in the postseason, that'll be fun. But with 4 matchups on the year, I can't wait to see more of it. And I think if I have to pick one, I'm going Clippers.
Yeah.
But that's not counting, I almost said LA, that's not counting the Lakers out at all.
An interesting question I had preseason was, are we going to see the Los Angeles Lakers or the Los Angeles Fakers? We know the talent that they have. You mentioned this high ceiling that they can get, but will they notch that? LeBron, as he ages, no disrespect to him, one of the game's greatest players, if not the greatest of all time. but he's not the same prime LeBron that threw chalk up in Cleveland.
Yeah.
We're talking about an aging LeBron. No, AD comes in. AD's the factor. I think Anthony Davis is the best player in Los Angeles right now, top to bottom, between the two squads. He is an unstoppable big man. But you look at Los Angeles Clippers now with Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, that's your 1-2 punch, and then where's the depth lie? Both of these two teams in LA rely on their stars. There's not a whole lot of depth versus what maybe the Raptors had last year in Toronto with Kawhi and company there, and Lowry and other names like that. And like Philadelphia has now with Embiid, and they had Jimmy Butler last year. They just added Al Horford. They're adding depth so that way they're not constantly depending on their stars. I think LA's almost like Hollywood, too star heavy right now.
Well, I think the Clippers actually have a decent amount of depth, especially on defense. Looking at Lou Will, looking at Pat Beverly, they lost Gilgeous-Alexander in the trade with OKC.
Right.
But they do have, not to say the Lakers don't either, because they have their own stars of old. The Lakers are an old team, I think. I think you look at this as the old guys versus the young bucks.
Yeah.
And the Clippers, I think, have defensive depth that can help them in the stretch, help them in the postseason. Sure. The Lakers have the names and the star power of LA. They've got Rondo. Don't know what's going on with Cousins right now. That's a whole mess. But it's still, they've got players that are recognizable. So I think the dynamic in LA right now is one of the more fun ones we've had in the past decade.
Yeah, for sure.
And back to when Kobe was still there, and you had the Chris Paul, Blake Griffin duo over in the Clippers side of things. So I think getting back to that is really fun and a good thing for the NBA.
Yeah. Well, I want to go ahead and shift the conversation over towards the NFL, because now we are 8 weeks into the regular season, or at the midway point of the regular season, and just want to ask you guys, who's your MVP right now? I'll start with you, Cade.
It's an interesting race because normally the MVP in the NFL, at least for the last 20-some-odd years,
there's always just, one.
It's just been one guy, and it's been pretty clear-cut. And that one guy has been a quarterback. Let's see now. We're going on 15 of the last 19 seasons, I believe.
Yep.
We've had a quarterback bring home the NFL MVP award. There's a lot of names right now, but I pick out 4 among the best. I think you're looking at Aaron Rodgers, you're looking at Russell Wilson, Christian McCaffrey, and I include Lamar Jackson. Those are your 4 names, I think, that are leading the races right now, midway point. Now, a lot can change on the back half stretch of the season, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But for me, I look at Christian McCaffrey. Man, what the production he's doing at Carolina, but they're 4-3. You're not going to win MVP on a team that does not win. And that's not something the Panthers are doing. And also, he's 3rd in the league in rushing as well. So he's not topping it out. That's not MVP numbers to me. And I look at a guy like Russell Wilson. He would be my preseason pick right now. The Seahawks sitting at 6-2. They're a very, very dangerous team coming out. And one reason I vault him over Rodgers right now, because Rodgers is a very popular pick. It's the national pick right now. The reason I vault Wilson over Rodgers is because Aaron Rodgers is not top 5 even in any passing statistical category except passing yardage. Not a single one. Russell Wilson is number 1 in passing touchdowns, number 1 in interceptions, only has 1 on the season. Rodgers has 2. You also look at what he's doing QBR-wise. Russell Wilson's top 3 in QBR. We're talking about an elite player that no one seems to talk about who's also undersized. We're looking at, I think, a better version and a younger version of what New Orleans has in Drew Brees.
What do you think about that, Ethan?
It's great points you made. I think you talk about New Orleans and Drew Brees. You have to look at one of his weapons for the conversation too, Michael Thomas. He's only has 4 touchdowns on the season. I say only, like some receivers still have yet to have one who are big names, but he only has 4 touchdowns, but he's averaging 12 yards a catch, which is nutty for considering he has 72, 75 catches on the season. Like if he had 10 catches and he's averaging 72, okay, he just had a couple bombs, right? But this is consistent deep threat production from Michael Thomas. Doesn't matter who his quarterback is. He's had 2 now on the season. They both know he's their best target, and he's just a monster in terms of not able to be covered. If he's not getting those touchdowns, he's setting them up. Yeah. So I think he needs to be in that conversation as well. I like that you brought up Lamar Jackson. I hadn't thought about that yet, but he's definitely proving a lot of critics wrong there in Baltimore.
Yeah. I'm going to have to go with Aaron Rodgers in this one, though. I know you did say, aside from the passing yardage, he's not ranking very high in the statistical categories right now. But the fact of the matter is, the MVP is the most valuable player, right? to your team. Aaron Rodgers, Packers would not be 6-1 or 7-1 or whatever they are without Aaron Rodgers right now, and that's the main reason why I got to go with him on that one.
Go to lie test.
Yeah. But our game of the week we have New England taking on Baltimore, the undefeated Patriots, heading into Baltimore this coming Sunday night. This is probably their best matchup they've had all season, and New England's kind of had a cakewalk here to an 8-0 season right now. But yeah, what do you guys takes in this one? Who you got? I'll start with you, Ethan.
Well, the story here is going to be New England's defense, right? They played stellar all year, don't get me wrong, but they've been against some dysfunctional offenses. You mentioned earlier the names of the quarterbacks they've played. Some of these guys are not traditional firepower in the NFL. So looking at, not that Lamar Jackson's traditional, but he's definitely, we just mentioned, making a statement this year. So I think that will be interesting. Stephon Gilmore was just listed as the AFC Player of the Month. So it's a tough one to pick. My gut says Ravens, but it's hard to pick against Belichick and Brady as always. So I'm going to go Ravens for now, but I honestly think he could go either way.
Okay.
Yeah, this one's a tough contest, and it's going to be it's the league's best game this week. There's no doubt about it. Sunday Night Football. I'm taking Baltimore in this one. Bill Belichick has that history of struggling against dual threat mobile quarterbacks. But there's never been a dual threat mobile quarterback like Lamar Jackson. The history books show it, the film shows it, the eye test shows it. Lamar Jackson's a one-of-a-kind athlete. And there's nobody on the Patriots practice squad or anything like that can replicate what that defense is going to see in Lamar Jackson, nor have they faced anything like that this year. We're talking about a quarterback that leads the league in yards per carry. Leads the entire National Football League in yards per carry, and he's a quarterback. Now, Miami tried to make him beat them with their arm in the beginning game of the season.
Yeah.
They stacked the line, brought in linebacker blitzes. What did Lamar Jackson do? Tosses 5 touchdown passes with a perfect passer rating. We're talking about a guy that is absolutely killing it through the air and with his legs on the ground. Now, defensively speaking, there's no doubt the Patriots are legit. We're talking about a Patriots defense that leads the league in turnovers. They have 19 interceptions on the season. This is going to be Lamar Jackson's first big test this year. But there's also be that Patriots defense first big test. And, if you're starting out a test with Lamar Jackson, I don't know if you're going to make a good grade on it. So give me the Ravens Sunday night.
All right, and I'm kind of feeling what you said. Like my gut says the Ravens on this one, but then again, it's so hard to bet against to go against Belichick and Brady. But interesting thing though, as good as the Patriots team has been this season, they actually ranked 21st in rushing defense.
Really?
We saw Nick Chubb last week actually explode off New England, even though they forced a couple turnovers or whatever. But the fact of the matter is that Mark Ingram and, like you said, Lamar Jackson leading yards per carry right now. The Ravens also rank first, first in rushing offense. So that will definitely be the X factor in this one. I'm going to go Ravens. Yeah, I'm going to say Ravens. So I guess we'll keep it a
clean sweep.
Yeah, clean sweep. There you go. All right. Well, is there anything else you guys like to add before we close out the show today? Or
just thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely.
All right. Cool. Well, yeah. Once again, thanks a lot for coming to the show today, guys. And for more on sports, guys, check us back here in the locker room.